Oh dear. Where do we even start with that? Hello, everybody. Welcome into the 30th episode of the From the Valley Floyd podcast. My name is Callum Alston. I will be your host. Yeah. Where do I start with that? Where do any of us start with that? An absolute disaster of the first 40 minutes at the Valley on Saturday. As Southampton deservedly thrashed Charlton 5-1. Let me to Stuart's point, he's in here. Thought I'd get in early and just say I thought Southampton were brilliant and ripped us apart at will. Doherty and Coventry anonymous. Simply because Southampton bypassed them, dust ourselves down, and regroup for Stoke. Absolutely agree, Stuart. Couldn't have said it better myself. If there are, sometimes people watch later who are fans of the other side. I know that from the viewing numbers on the Wrexham podcast. If you're a Southampton fan watching this, fair play to you. That they came down, they were absolutely brilliant. For minute one, they were more aggressive. They looked fitter, they looked stronger, they're technically brilliant. I thought Adam Armstrong was fantastic in that sort of false nine position. Scienza, that'll be a Premier League player next year, I'm sure, with Fatu at Leicester as well. Best player I've seen, I think, down the valley this season. They absolutely dominated us, and that can happen, and we'll get into it. Stuart saying here, just forget about it and look forward to the next game. Unfortunately, I do have to do a review show here, Stuart, so I've got to chat about this game. I'm not massively sure I'm going to do it. The goal sort of, I don't know if I was listening to Charlton Live this morning. I thought Louis made a really good point of all the goals kind of blended into one sort of awful mess. It's like just one sort of soup of dreadful defending, terrible sort of midfield play, and excellent attacking sort of verve and push. We're getting people in now. Hi, everybody. Hope we're all doing well on this Saturday evening. But yeah, that's a tough one. Before I start going through the sort of Charlton bit, Sam saying, "Hi, Cam, still wrapping my head around where did this go horribly wrong." That's what we're trying. We'll try and figure it out together, Sam. I think we're all kind of in the same sort of shell-shocked position. We conceded 4 goals at home for how many home games we played? 7 or 8, and we conceded 4 in 8 minutes. And they're not just. It wasn't just the goals we conceded. They're all lovely finishes, right? They're all beautiful goals in a way. Lovely attacking play, but the defending was just awful, just dreadful, and I'm not used to seeing that from Charlton. No, I want to start by sort of saying that I'm not going to throw loads and loads of people under the bus. That's not what this podcast is about. I'm not going to come on here and start bashing the manager. I don't think it helps anybody. I try to sort of have a bit of a reasonable reflection. It's one of the few games that you'll ever see me leave early. I was frustrated. I was irritated. My mate came to his first Charlton game, the poor guy. But yeah, I'm not going to start throwing people under the bus. And I think that to start, I think Nathan Jones got the man management of that yesterday sort of weirdly spot on. He didn't come out afterwards and throw players under the bus. He didn't come out and start bashing people. He gave Rob Apter a big handshake when he came off. That wasn't Rob Apter is crap. We'll get into why I think he took him off when he could have taken off Bruno Hernandez, who was just as bad, if not worse. But there was some worrying sort of things from players that came on. Stuart, we will get into ranking Costello. I think someone made the point that he looks as if he's playing in jeans, and that is incredibly accurate. But yeah, let's start with, for me, when I start sort of going through players here, and I'm not going to do like a player by player analysis. We sort of do that on the Chronicles. There's a better place to watch that 8:00 tonight. Come join. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to start here, and I'm going to go. Let's take Thomas Kaminski out of it. The goalkeeper was not the problem yesterday in any way, shape, or form. None of the goals were his fault. The one-on-one, I think I saw someone say, kind of goes down early. Okay, the goalkeeper defending a one-on-one, he's still knocked it in the corner. Okay. He made a great save at 0-0. It would have been 7 or 8 without him. He is not the target in this at all. There were 10 other players we can have a conversation about, 12 or 13 if you include some of the subs. I'm not going to include Corey Anderson in this either. I think when he came on, he was fine. With 5-1, it was the game was over anyway. But I don't think that's particularly useful. But let's start with the thing that I've been sort of banging on about, really for months, and it's wing back, and I keep it is the same problem that we have almost weekly at this point, is our issues down the sides. Bruno Hernandez was absolutely terrible. On the first goal, he runs into Gillespie. He gets in Gillespie's way for no apparent reason. We'll come to Gillespie in a minute. He just looked like a rabbit in the headlights at times, and then other times he looks like someone trying to just didn't know where to be, didn't know what to do. It was a really strange performance and very much proof that you can't turn every winger into a wing back. He runs, he tries, he's not lazy, but that's not going to get you very far. Let's go to right wing back, Rob Apter, who I saw someone saying I'd had a hard go of it. I was annoyed after the game. I probably jumped down the person's throat and shouldn't have done. Did he have it harsh in a sense he was taken off after 25 minutes? Yes. Was I surprised he came off after 25 minutes? No. If you look at, we'll get to this, Sam. If you look at Rob Apter in terms of he's so left-footed that you can't move him to left wing back because he can't tackle in his other foot. So you end up in a thing where it's like he has to keep Hernandez on the pitch in a way if he's going to play him at wing back. He then changes it when Costello comes on and plays a different formation and puts Gillespie at left back, which didn't make any sense to me at all. So I do understand why Sam was saying that Apter was badly treated, quote unquote. But let's be honest, when he was on the pitch, he was dreadful. And again, I don't think it's his fault. He's an attacking winger being played at wing back with very little support. But you just saw Scienza just absolutely rolling through him like a knife through butter. And it was really, really quite painful, actually. It was a really just awful performance. And I like Rob Apter, right? I think he's a good player, and I think that playing him further up, it works. But he's too small to play at a striker, so you can't play him where you play Tyrese Campbell, who, again, did not have a very good game yesterday. But he's not defensively solid enough to play right wing back unless you basically have Connor Coventry hold his hand by playing him sort of further back. And to me, when I saw the lineup, I went, "Oh no!" Anyone who sort of saw the previews that I did for the game, or any of the preview on here on the Chronicles, when I sort of went, when I heard about the two attacking wing backs thing, I read that lineup after zooming in on that really stupid Panini image. By the way, it's impossible to see who it was. But I looked at it and went, "Oh, I don't know about that." And then I thought, okay, so what you're going to do is you'll drop Doc into that hole on the left side as a left footer. You'll drop Coventry on the right side as a right footer. And you'll basically almost play it as a back seven, right? to try and sort of give cover for those wingers, even if they push up, right? You've got a bit of defensive solidity. We didn't do that. We did some weird high press where we sent everybody. I think it's the third goal. Why is Connor Coventry on the left wing? Right? You look at the one-on-one, and there is no one in between. No one tracks the runner. Should Sonny Carey track the runner? Yeah, probably. But even when he does, there's no protection. Lloyd Jones is standing in some weird postcode for no apparent reason. And there's just one ball through, right? It's a lovely bit of play from Armstrong. Don't get me wrong, lovely bit of play. Right? Finn Azaz absolutely ripped us to shreds on those same sort of balls through the middle, right? But the reason for it is that my midfield is so high. My wing backs, quote unquote, are playing as wingers. I've got one really slow left centre back who can't deal with that much pace by himself. I've got a right centre back who's a right back, sort of, and but gets a little bit. What's sort of the phrase that I would use? He sometimes loses his head positionally. He's not a particularly great positional centre back, Kane Ramsey, because he's not a centre back by trade. So he's learning the role, and he's not been bad in the role. But I think any sort of worries about getting £5 million for him, I think those have been answered over the last couple of months, really since the red card against Millwall. He's been in and out of games. Some games he's been good, some games he's been very poor. And then I've got Lloyd Jones standing on the halfway line half the time, and he's got a striker in front of him who's going to take the ball and turn, and has done for the entirety of his career. It's like, basically, think of like a Poundland version of Harry Kane, right? You bring the ball down, you spin it around. He's a good passer with the ball, Adam Armstrong, for the level, right? And he keeps going up and standing right behind him, so that every time he gets the ball, he's just got to quickly play it around. It's absolute madness. Like, I can criticize the manager, and I will in a second, about the press and press integrity and all the rest of that in a second. And I think he tried to play some mind games that didn't work. But these are professional footballers who have played really well at the level, just not adjusting. You add on to that, if you look at the first goal, ball comes across 2 minutes before, Armstrong wins the header, and he shouldn't, by the way. Lloyd Jones should be winning that header all day of the week. But it drops onto the head of Armstrong, who's in between Jones and Ramsey. And Kaminsky turns to Ramsey and he starts berating him. He's like, what on earth are you doing? Get in front of him, get around him, right? And Ramsey kind of points at Lloyd Jones and goes, he should have won the ball, which isn't wrong. But you've had a warning that the ball's going to, they're going to do that. They're going to go out to that side and they're going to cross the ball in. Well, what's the first goal? They go down that side. He puts the ball in, right? Terrible defending from Macarena Hernandez. Absolutely terrible, right? To let that cross come in. There's two players there. There shouldn't be two players there. There's two players there. But my goodness me, Rob Apter loses his man. He decides to go on a walkabout for no reason at all. Watch your man. If you're playing wing back, watch your man. You're basically a right back at that point. And Kane Ramsey decides he doesn't want to jump. Well, Manning, who's about 5'8", comes and just goes knock. It's a lovely header. He's hit the corner of the bar and the post. But you just watch, I was just right behind that goal, and I'm just going, how on earth? How on earth does that happen? Right? One ball round, two balls round. Keeper makes a save. Ball drops to them. Greg Doherty makes an idiot of himself on I think it must have been the fourth goal, whatever it was. Right? Kaminsky makes a save. The ball drops. It's unlucky. And then Greg Doherty decides to, I'm not even sure what he's trying to do. But nobody tried to change it. The only person shouting was the goalkeeper. If you watch the one-on-one, I sit right behind the keeper. He's shouting, somebody block that lane. And nobody moved. And so you're just like, the manager doesn't seem to be telling players to change it. Players are doing things that are really silly. And with players that are normally sort of really energetic are slow. Gillespie and he was slow normally, but he had a thing where he sort of in that first couple of minutes, he did a sort of half-hearted, reach your leg out sort of tackle, almost as if this was right before an international break at the end of a 3-game week. not after an international game, after an international break. So the whole thing was structurally a disaster, right? And I was watching it, and when I tried to pull it apart, I actually come. There's the players that were part of that need to take that responsibility, right? I like that from Greg Docherty. We all let you down, right? We let everybody down. We know that we let you down. So he's including himself in that, and I'll give him credit. After a 5-1 loss, it should be a captain coming out, and he did better than Callum Naismith at Luton, who seemed to blame the fans after the game, right? After their loss at Barnsley, which is the only loss, by the way, this weekend that was worse than ours. But you look at you, you look at a captain and a vice captain, because obviously Lloyd's your vice captain, and nobody's saying anything, right? And I get it. We're all shell shocked in the stands. I think the players were shell shocked. I think the manager was shell shocked. But someone has to grab it by the scruff of the neck, right? Could you imagine a Roy Keane in that situation? Could you imagine a Patrick Vieira in that situation? You grab it by the scruff, right? And I use them as just two of the best captains that have ever been and whatever. But, there's modern examples of players like that, right? You need to sort of gain some control, right? And the way to do, whether that's the goalkeeper sitting down and you're just taking a breather. After the second one went in, the goalkeeper should have sat down, right? But normally the manager indicates to him he wants him to do that. So I guess Nathan Jones had a bit of a shell shock moment. But as I was watching the game, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, there we go. After the second goal, someone should have gone down with the injury. That's what, yeah, Paul, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to come back to some of your questions in just a moment. Let me just finish this point. But there just wasn't much leadership on show yesterday, really, from anyone involved. And that, to me, is concerning, because if you look at this next round of fixtures, you're away at Stoke, who I know have lost their last two, but they want to get one over Nathan Jones. And they're a good side with a really good manager. You then go to Coventry, top of the league now by 7 points, and look as if they're going to walk it, scoring goals for fun. You then have Portsmouth at home. Now, we always beat Portsmouth, but, they've got players back from injury, and that's going to be a really tricky game. And then you've got Middlesbrough, who are second at home on a Tuesday night. And then we go to St Andrews and Birmingham are third in the form charts, right? And he easily, could be inside the top 5 by the time we play that game. We're 5 points from 17th. 4 points from 17th, isn't it, or something? Like, yeah, if we go and beat Stoke, we actually can go as high as 5th as well, which is pretty funny. But this league is really tight, and I think that the bottom 2 are starting to go a bit adrift now. I'd be really worried if I was a Norwich fan. But with that Sheffield United win, it's down to 10. The difference between the bottom 3 and us. I still think Oxford are worse than us. I still think Portsmouth probably are worse than us. But they have got to have a look at that wing-back situation in January. You've got to solve that problem. Because what Nathan Jones, I think, was trying to do in the week, he took the temperature and he calmed it down. He was very, very respectful of Southampton. He was very much great club, lots of resources. I don't blame anyone else, all the rest of it. And then I think he tried to hit them. He wanted to go full high press, high pace. I've got these attacking players on the wing. And I think he went, I'm going to try and overwhelm them. A lot of those are former Premier League players. They're not going to be overwhelmed by Rob Apter running at them, right? They're not going to be overwhelmed by Sonny Carey, who's a great player. He distinctly yesterday, Sonny Carey, but he's a great player, right? But they're not going to be overwhelmed by the lad that you signed for free from Blackpool, right? They're not going to be overwhelmed by the 2 academy kids you have up front. Harvard Bellis was, had Tyrese Campbell on a plate for the entire game. Miles, I thought, was actually okay and was actually winning things, and I think was fighting, and I'll give him some credit for that. But no one get a shot off. And not only that, but you look at it in terms of formation, you go, Nathan Jones came out and he went, I've only got 3 defenders. Well, then why are you trying to play a back 5? Right? If you want to play a 3-back all season, you need 6 centre-backs, right? And it doesn't have to be that they all need to be great centre-backs. You just need players to bring in, right? And you'll get James Bree back on on Tuesday. Hopefully, his groin problem is sort of been resolved and all the rest of it. And I know that Nathan Jones said that Amari Bell now was days away. I think Amari Bell was chatting to Tom Archer and said he's close-ish. He's not that far away. God knows what has happened to Matty Gordon's knee. But this is very, very weird. Now, he played on it for 2 months, and all of a sudden, it seems to something's gone wrong. I look at a game like that yesterday, and maybe the best route would have actually been to pack the midfield. That's really where Southampton got us, was they dropped Armstrong in, they pulled the centre backs up, and it meant that the midfield was so compressed that we didn't press properly. There's one where it's like Tyrese Campbell goes, I think it's the second goal, the one where they pass it all the way around the back. It's a lovely goal, lovely goal from Southampton, that. But he goes, Lee Burn's on his back heel, Coventry's on the left, it's the third goal because it's the 1-on-1. Coventry's on the left wing, Doherty's in the wrong position, centre backs are way too high, the wing backs are nowhere to be seen, and the whole press was just a mess, right? And that's what Nathan Jones means by get back to the basics and all the rest of it. Redmond saying Gordon's not the answer anyway. I'm not saying that Gordon is the answer. I don't think he is. But if I look on that bench, I had 3 children on that bench yesterday. Whoever it is, if it's an experienced footballer, get I have 4 kids if I include Corey Anderson, right? Who a lot of people want to loan out. But we are in the depths of an injury crisis here. But it was foreseeable, right? Burke's injury history was not known. Amari Bell's injury history was not known, right? To have Amari Bell as your backup left wing back, starting left centre back, to a left wing back that is already injury prone was absolute squad malpractice. And I said this on that summer one, as I could not believe we hadn't got one more wing back in. Lo and behold, we are where we are. But Nathan Jones' mind games didn't work. I think that we just I'm not saying the answer is in sort of Gordon's going to score 25 goals this year. That's not what I mean. What I mean is you need, I think, some more experience up front. I know Kelman's actually not a million miles away either from being back. So it should just, we will get players back over the next couple of weeks. Amari Bell being back can't happen fast enough, right? But I don't like him at left wing back, not because he can't play there, because I think he's played well there, but because his hamstrings can't take playing there for 3 games a week. And we've got a couple of 3-game weeks, and we've got the Christmas period before we're allowed to dip into the market. But it was a bad day. As Stuart said at the start of all of this, let's regroup for Stoke. Stoke is going to be difficult. They have lost their last 2, so like us, they're not in great form. Mike Robbins signed a new contract extension. But they're a good team, Stoke City. I think they were one I kind of had in the back of my head that maybe with the squad they had, they could slip back a little bit. I think over the Christmas period, it's not the most deep squad in the division. Mbana or whatever, the Divin Mbana is. I think he's a City kid, but I think he may have been at West Ham if I'm not mistaken. He's on loan. He looks like a really exciting striker. That's a really, really hard place to go. I know we're going to do the Can You Do It on a Cold Tuesday night in Stoke, which is true. We're going to try and do that. And that's actually quite funny. But it's sort of beyond that. It's a place that if it's somewhat full, and it's not always full at Stoke. They get reasonably good crowds, but it's a big ground and all the rest of it. They're the same sort of problem we do. Big ground, even if you get 15,000 or something, considering the size of Stoke as a place. If you get 15,000, it doesn't feel that full. It's not that loud, just because, the air sort of sucks it away. They've removed us from the wind tunnel of the away end, which is nice of them. So at least we'll have some cover from the elements. But it's not what it would be like, I think, on a I can't remember who went there Saturday Cup. It was at Oxford who went there. And it was basically completely sold out and it was a really difficult place to go. They've lost their last 2. One was to Coventry. I think most of us are going to lose to Coventry, if I'm honest with you. But I mean, it's going to be difficult, right? It's going to be difficult. It's very Mark Robbins. They're going to be defensively secure. They're going to be, actually not a million miles from what we were, other than on Saturday. Defensively secure. They're going to, they're going to push. They're going to press. They're going to be you know, they're going to do the basics right, as Nathan puts it, I guess. But it's a good side, Stoke. It's a difficult place to go. It's really difficult to do it on a Tuesday night when the wind's blowing and it's miserable, and we're all going to be frigid. But I don't think we should not be panicking over a single result. My frustration comes from the fact that I think the problem on that left side, it will be easier when Bree's back because you only have the problem on one side rather than both. So as long as Bree is fit on Tuesday, I don't think the problem's going to be quite as pronounced. But, Ono Hernandez with Gillespie doesn't work. Tyrese Campbell doesn't work at left wing back. So who do you play there until Amari is back? Nathan saying it was days rather than weeks. Does that sound like a Coventry return, or does that sound maybe more like Pompey at home? That Pompey at home game really, that's become, I think, a pretty must-win game. If we had to pick a side we needed a must-win against in historical terms, I think for most of us, Portsmouth would be the answer to that question. Maybe Sunderland. But I think that game becomes massively important with the fixtures that we've got. Middlesbrough don't travel that well either, so I don't think that Tuesday night's going to be very interesting. It's a very good Middlesbrough side, but they've got the new head coach coming in, so it'll be interesting to see how they sort of approach it under a new manager as well. But these next two are about just trying to stay in those games, stay in them, nick a goal. That's what you're really trying to do. I know Nathan Jones will high press. I know Nathan Jones will push. But Fuller for his pace. The issue is he can't defend. He's not a defender, so that's why you can't play Fuller at left wing back. So it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle. I think you are helped massively by James Bree being back and being able to play at right wing back again. I think the quotes in the week also sounds like Nathan Jones fully intends to go and buy him in January. I wonder if you're Southampton, you're looking at he'll be on about probably 18,000 a week. They'll probably be thinking, if I can get that wage off my bill. And James Bree's best years of his career have all been under Nathan Jones. I think a lot of sides who maybe be interested probably look at that history and kind of go, ooh, I don't have Nathan Jones. So it may not be worth putting in some of the offers I think some fans have. So, yeah, let's go through a couple of your comments before I come off. Obviously, I'll be on the Chronicles in 45 minutes or so. Come have a chat with us. We'll probably go through individual player performances and different things. I'm going to really struggle to do that. I bet you I'm going to get Tyrese Campbell again. I know it. Hope Lloyd isn't too badly injured. Yeah, this was from Robert Swanston. Yeah, this was worrying. Watching Lloyd Jones hobble around for about 10 minutes at the end of the game. You hope not. He did bash his knee with someone. Sometimes those, if you get like a knee bruise, can be painful, but you can work through them. My thing with Lloyd is he's so physical in the way that he plays centre back that he is good, much like Josh Edwards. Actually, he's going to pick up knocks just via the fact that he will battle you, from minute 1 to minute 90. And I think actually that trying to battle someone was part of the problem on yesterday at Leicester lunchtime. Armstrong and Scienza were brilliant. But you're still talking about about £30 million worth of player between the two of them or something, about 15 million each. Crazy, isn't it? Strange that Skins has been a journeyman player throughout his career, playing for lots of clubs in lower leagues, but thought he was brilliant. Yeah, that's a really good bit of scouting. I actually think Sonny Carey is probably it's probably a similar story. He's probably a player that works better with better players around him. Some players need that; they need the extra quality. I wonder if Skins is one of those, having those sort of really good players around him. Is a really good bit of scouting from Southampton. But I think they still paid about 12 million for him, didn't they? So, they paid a lot of money for him. I think he did have a good season. Was it Heidenheim he came from? I think he did have a good season there last year. So, but they're taking a lot of Bundesliga 2 players. Southampton, players like Damien Downs haven't worked. But Skinner definitely has. I'm slightly worried about Lloydie and whether he'll be fit for Tuesday if he's not in that we even was. Yeah, we try not to think about that, Sam, because the idea at that point would be either you're going to play a back four with Ramsey as one of your centre backs, and I don't think he can play centre back in his four. That's going to be an absolute mess. Yeah, Redmond saying ranking got so lack sharpness. He looked, as I said, somebody said he looked like he was wearing jeans out there. He did, but we didn't we only see one goal when he was on the pitch. So, the change sort of worked. Been thinking throughout the day, why didn't Nathan put Josh L, the academy right back at halftime? I think you just don't want to expose the kids, right? Because it can never really dent their confidence. I think a lot of us probably thought, why not just bring on Gow and bring on Ogoff and bring on Lakatabo and see what happens? And you can't ruin their confidence like that. It's difficult. When you 5-1 down, the fans are already on your back. Well, I thought, to be totally fair, the Valley wasn't particularly toxic. It was more shell shocked, but you just don't want to put your kids through that. I think if you concede another 2 or 3 before the end of the game, it could get quite toxic. So that's probably why Nathan decided to do that. Liban did okay chasing balls into the channels. Need to see more of that going. But he did actually. He won quite a few headers, which against Harbour Bellis is a it's tricky. So to be fair to him, that worked. Desperately hoping Josh and Bell back soon. As I say, Nathan was saying that Bell should be days, so hopefully he is back. He is back in the next couple of days. So I hope maybe Coventry can get back for Coventry. That would be absolutely huge. Yeah, I thought Nathan was too stunned to change the formation even when the game was gone. I think he was too. I think he was like all of us. I think he got. I think we all had a bit of a period of shell shock there. I remember watching Curtis Fleming's face from where I sit. He was going. I couldn't believe it. So, managers are people too. We're all human beings. It couldn't have been nice for Nathan. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous that they spent 45 minutes singing songs about him. Stupid. Right, if we went up to Shrewsbury and were winning, I wouldn't be singing songs about Michael Appleton. I might have one joke about putting his hands in his pocket, but I just think it's an absolute waste for a manager that basically took over a poison chalice. Yeah, he was never going to be able to cover the distance to go from central area and go into the press there. Right back is crazy. Yeah, a number of players did that. Where they would sort of the press was too high. It was we were very, very naive. I think we approached it as if we were at their level, and unfortunately, we don't. Maybe we have the mentality and the squad mentality to be at that level, but we're not. We don't have £45 million worth of attacking talent out there, and that £45 million worth of attacking talent just absolutely killed us. And also, you can't press a goalkeeper like Gavin Bazunu the way we were trying to. He will just put it round you, right? He's a okay shot stopper, Bazunu. He's not a great one, but he's excellent with the ball at his feet, right? And we're trying to press him at full pace. He just passed it off to the centre back. There's loads of gap, right? That was absolutely crazy. Apt needs to give Ramsey a shout. He didn't scan, so he's not aware of the deep run. Yeah. I'm not blaming it all on Ramsey. I just think that we had the warning for that first goal. We had the warning 2 minutes before. If I would hope you'd be a bit, you'd be clocked and you clock that and know to sort of scan what was behind you. I don't think he did. Yes, I had a chat with Sam. I'd had a few beers and I was very upset. It's all right. We had a nice conversation actually. Nathan needs to inform us when the injured players will return. As this will at least put us at ease. Yeah, I mean he sort of did. I think he was basically saying Bell and Kelman are somewhat close. Burke's problematic, but Burke's injury history is always, whenever he gets anything, it's going to be for months. And then Josh Edwards, I think, was saying that he needs to go and see a specialist, so that does not sound good. Yeah, too busy pointing at each other's faults. We definitely needed a massive team huddle of the second or third goal. We did, and the captain should have been the one organising that. That second goal goes in 2 minutes later. You get the goalkeeper down on his backside, and you get the players together, and you just calm them down. Keep this to half time, whatever it is. We're facing an absolute barrage here. There's 20 shots in the first half. 20. Just really, really poor. Yeah, we just need consolidation. Yeah, we just need consolidation with Josh Bellbury coming. But we do. I don't know if Josh is coming back very soon, Stuart, though. That's the only thing. It sounded like it's going to be. It sounds like he's seeing a specialist. It could be longer. Mass shout to the women's team won this afternoon at Southampton in their League Cup. Fair play to them. I think Karen's going to easily get that side promoted this year. This is for the year. As I've said many times on the pod, it'd be very nice to have the WSL down the valley. And also at least somebody can beat Southampton because the men's team clearly are incapable of doing so. At least Aribo didn't score when he came on. I thought it was a really nice moment actually when Aribo came on. I think he seemed a bit quite touched by it. It was nice to see him, and wish it had been in better circumstances for us. But as Robert says, at least he didn't score. And I thought the number 18 was unbelievable. Yes, that's Skins, isn't it? I think. No, Skins is 13. Is that Zaz? Is it Zaz 18? I'm not sure. But I think you could pick any of that front six for them, and they're all fantastic. So if they could pick any of them, to a man, they just had one of those performances yesterday, Southampton, and they've got the quality to do that. And it happens. Fellows, that's it. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, Fellows. Well, that's another £12 million player. So you're looking at it again. They've got what was Downs, 10 million. He's on the bench. You've got 12 million for Fellows, like 15 or so. It's like less than that for Schienza. Armstrong was 20 or whatever he was. So you're looking at huge transfer fees, huge transfer sums. Some bought in the Premier League and all the rest of it, and I understand that. But we do. I think people get annoyed with managers. Oh, but they have more resources. Yeah, they do. They do, and he's like, he should be allowed to point that out. Southampton will be there or thereabouts at the end of the season. I think so as well, Stuart. I think you're absolutely right, and I think that's I think Southampton, I think Birmingham, I think Ipswich. I don't think Sheffield United are going to be down there. I think Sheffield United will easily be. They might be a bit too far back to get into the top 6, but I think they'll be a top 10 side. As I say, for me, a really great season would be challenging for that 12th place trophy. And as long as we can get ourselves nice to be safe, quote unquote, I think we're going to be absolutely fine. As Charlie says, it'll be all right. We just need the injuries back. We do, and we need to make sure that we buy 2 wing backs. Whether one's James Brunner, we need to buy 2 wing backs in January, and probably we need to get some sort of another rotational centre back in. One maybe doesn't need to be in the squad every week, just so that we've got the covers. Any news on Leicester point deduction? Yeah, I saw something where it was like basically I think it's definitely going to happen. Someone said it's quite substantial, but I haven't heard much beyond that. And the question is it going to be 10 points? Is it going to be 12 points? Is it going to be more than that? I think the EFL is going to make a massive example of Leicester, and I don't think they appreciated when Leicester went up to the Premier League. They said, well, the EFL can't touch us. I think the EFL have taken that very, very poorly, and I think are probably going to aim for as maximum points deduction as possible. And that could really help us, right? If that ends up being a 15-point points deduction, that puts Leicester down with Norwich and Wednesday rather than with anybody else. I think we can all sit here and say Wednesday are pretty much goners. So you're looking at that, you're going to see the other 2 spots. I think Norwich are in real trouble. I'm going to try and buy the way out in January, but I think Norwich are in real trouble. A team with Josh Sargent should not be as bad as they are, but they cannot defend. They're conceding 4 almost every week. It's madness. Sheffield United, I think, will be fine. And then I think for me, I look at Oxford and I look at Portsmouth, and I go, those are the 2 that I think, as long as you're above both of them come the end of the season, you'll be safe. And I don't think that's impossible looking at their squads. They're good sides. They're fantastic football clubs. I'm happy Oxford are getting a new stadium, so I don't have to go to the car park again after this year, hopefully. But and you have to respect Gary Rowett as a manager. But I'm not massively sure that they've got the quality necessary to stay up. And I think that for us, it's a question of, do we have the depth to stay up? I think we probably do, but I think it's going to require buying a couple of fullbacks. We were overawed and overwhelmed. I'll leave you all with this from Paul, and you can come and hear Paul. His wonderful dulcet tones, and you can hear me again. I'm at 8 o'clock on the Chronicles, but we were overawed and overwhelmed. I'm sure it's a one-off, apart from possibly Coventry. Hopefully, so I think when you go to Coventry, you just put 12 pounds. You just put 12 men behind the ball. Yeah, they have a new manager and they got beaten 4-1. I don't know if anyone's seen the video where they're basically on the edge of the Birmingham box. 20 seconds later, the ball's in the back of their own net. That's what I mean by that team cannot defend. Shane Duffy's out there having drunken rants at fans. It's a mess down there. Oh no, Paul Clemence and the Maud already. Oh, goodness gracious. If Josh is a specialist, when he's I don't know. Stuart, I mean, the best person to ask any question about Josh Edwards seems to be Tom Arch, who seems to have had a chat with him. But he may have already seen. Sometimes players go and see one, and they go, "It could be this," and then you start doing the rehab, and actually there's something else. If it's ligament damage, it's really tricky, and I think Nathan did say it is ligament damage. So it's a really difficult one because if you reattach, you've got to reattach it in the right way, and then you've got to rehab it, and So I'm not massively sure, but those can be really tricky injuries to come back from. That's why I said, but we need to, we need to be looking at wing back. I make the assumption that somewhere in Bedfordshire, Phil Chappell is already having a look on the market and having and asking the questions of are there any fullbacks out there that we can potentially bring in. I would, and the question is where you can bring them in from and what's the sort of cost here. But I think if you're the ownership, I think if you're, I was saying this on the way out, if you're sat in your mansion in Los Angeles, Joshua Friedman, or your mansion in Houston, Gabriel Brenner, and you see that come across, you must be sort of going, having a look at your bank, your bank teller going, I might need to be making a withdrawal here. And I think they'll know that. They've spent money in January in the past. There's money left over from the transfer budget in the summer. We know that from the Fofana thing. So it's just how we sort of get that right. Any news about Burke's injury? I don't know. All I've heard from it, and I don't know if it's a proper source. It's not a Corley or anything. Is that it's worse than they first thought it was. But with Reece Burke, anything, it's really frustrating though because this is. My mate's not okay. Is it back? One sec. There you go. Sorry about that. It disconnected. I really need to upgrade this mic. But yeah, so I suppose it's slightly worse than they first thought. But with Burke, he usually gets sort of muscular injuries, his hamstring, or especially his hamstring, his calves, really. But any sort of injury for him, I think has just got a long road back, and you've got to make sure that he's perfect. And even then, he can't play more than 2 games in a week. So again, left wing back, right wing back, centre back. That's got to be the thing in January. I think they made a terrible mistake and coming into the season. Terrible, maybe is strong, but they made a mistake in not having another left wing back, and I think they'll probably know that. All right, everyone, I'm going to go off. I'm going to go and sort a couple of things out before I hop on the Chronicles in about half an hour. I think Tyler's hosting. Come say hello. Come have some more free therapy. I saw Radiohead yesterday. It was great. Bit of happy news. So I will see you all on either on that later, or I will see you after the Stoke game on Wednesday evening. All right. All the best. Bye for now.